Hello, my dear folks, my dear audience, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good noon, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. But Jack Chow is having a very good time at this show today because I have the pleasure to have my wonderful guest, a great guy, a fighter, a man with lots of glory. The former assembly member, now the current second president of LACCD, which is the largest school district, college school district of the United States, Mr. Honorable Mike Yin.
What a pleasure to be here, Jack, to join you again. And
All
happy
right.
Valentine's Day.
Thank you very much for coming. And oh yeah, especially when it falls on in Valentine's Day, it makes more sense. It makes this day more remarkable. And what the fact is that we're talking about the issue, the travel ban, the 7 countries, so on and so forth, together with the executive orders made by Donald Trump shortly within a week and a half after he took office, we get worried a lot. Especially today, we're talking about our kids. When we were naming the title of the show today, we really took some time thinking. Finally, we came to a conclusion that we know that our kids are our future, right? So with that, I would like to welcome my good friend, the backbone of the community for California, Honorable Mike Yin. Once again, you're welcome to the show. My audience are waiting for you for a long time.
It's good to be back.
Thank you. What's your overall reading about the impact? The positivity, if there any, the negativity of the orders themselves.
Okay, it's hard to believe that only a couple of weeks ago, on January 27th, President Trump issued his travel ban against 7 countries. Mm-hmm. The impact was immediate. What it meant was that many people were stranded at the airport, even green card holders. Mm-hmm. From those 7 countries and more, mm-hmm. international students. The impact went beyond the 7 countries. What it meant was that everybody coming back could now be subject to more questions. And I went to Los Angeles Airport to volunteer as a volunteer lawyer. And we heard many stories of individuals, particularly from those 7 countries, particularly Iran, that people that had been permanent residents for many years but could not get back in the country, people that could not board the flight, people that were already cleared to join their families here as refugees could not even come over. So the impact is that it has a chilling effect on anybody who does not have a U.S. passport, is now thinking twice about traveling overseas, and anyone overseas thinking about coming here is thinking twice. The H-1B program, which is how people who have a bachelor's degree can legally get a job offer in the United States and find the pathway to citizenship, that is under tremendous amount of scrutiny now and may not exist in this coming year as we knew it before. We have many high-tech companies in California that depend on people to come here for their technology. In my own school district, we have, as you said, the very children who are afraid. Some of them are undocumented. They were brought here through no fault of their own when they were very young, 2 or 3 years old.
Or yes.
Yes, 2 or 3 years old. They applied for a temporary ID card and work permit through the DACA program. The immigration knows everything about them. They're in danger. They're crying.
Okay.
They were thinking they would get a pathway to get a bachelor's degree and get a job. They're in danger. We have professors from other countries. Many people think that education is limited to being taught by people born in the United States. That's not true. The rich diversity of our faculty from many countries is what adds to our knowledge.
I see.
So all of these things, all of these things are under tremendous threat right now.
And there is a saying, of course, the news almost goes like a landslide towards what you are talking about so far. Impact, negativity. And the argument on the other side says, well, when a country is at a certain moment, you got to do something even painfully. So in other words, the words behind that means that there is positivities in the orders. In your eye, do you see any positivities of the executive orders, including the 7-country traveling bans, about the green card holder returns, or the undocumented students themselves? What positivities do you see in those, please?
Well, first of all, the ban is completely irrational. If you look at President Trump's justification, his justification was September 11th, 9/11. But the countries that were suspected of providing the terrorists are not on this list. It was Saudi Arabia, with whom he has great business interests in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, that speaks a lot.
The San Bernardino bombing, all of these examples, the Boston Marathon, none of these examples would have been affected by the ban. So first of all, the justification is not rational.
It stops nothing.
It doesn't address the reason for the ban, which is to ban terrorists that are going to foment 9/11 in San Bernardino. The ban would never have stopped those people from, and some of our terrorists are homegrown. The Murray building, the federal building, was a homegrown terrorist. But if you asked what is the impact that has any type of value to us, and that value is twofold. Number one, if you had a green card and you're eligible for citizenship, you better become a U.S. citizen, because your ability to travel, even to remain here, is in great doubt.
All right, good.
In LA County alone, there are 2.2 million green card holders who could apply for citizenship but have refused to.
Or hesitating.
For whatever reason, we don't know. If a green card holder gets convicted of certain crimes, even assault and battery on a spouse, which is horrible, of course, but that one thing will permanently ban them.
All right, okay.
Permanently ban them as an aggravated felon.
All right.
The second implication is that if you're a citizen, you better register to vote. Because that's the only way we can fight back, is become a U.S. citizen and vote for the people that we think are going to fight for our rights, and vote out the people that are making Trump's legitimacy possible. And that is a sobering story. In my car now, I keep voter registration forms.
Good. You know, Honorable Mike, I respect everything you said ever since the early days of your assemblyman time that you served 6 years altogether, right?
Yes, thank you for remembering.
6 years altogether. And during those years, you made lots of bills, and lots of them became into laws. And that's why, at one summary that I read, you probably read to one of the very few that makes the most bills during your assemblyman day, right? The reason I'm saying that is that could there be something or anything be done to express ourselves in a more thorough way than just feeling worried about?
I think that it's very important that we as a state come together to support some very, very important legislation that's going on in Sacramento right now. Washington, I don't believe we have much control, but California does have control. And there are many things that we can do. One of the things that is very important is in LA County, under Supervisor Hilda Solis, who is a former Secretary of Labor and Congresswoman. She has started a fund to help people that are being deported or who have legal problems. The fund will be about $10 million. And many people don't know this, but there are a lot of Asian Americans, I mean, a lot of Asians who are undocumented or who could get their papers fixed but don't have the money to do so. I know because I've been an immigration lawyer for 40 years and I see that happening. We try to help out, we try to volunteer, but there are so many that are ashamed that they don't have enough money to afford a lawyer to do it. Or they go to immigration, and immigration in some areas has a record of being rude or making people wait, losing their papers. Not all, and I'm sure the majority of cases are done legitimately, but there is that minority of cases where you do need a lawyer. And these people are afraid to speak out, they're afraid to complain, and they don't have a lawyer, and they're lost.
They're scared off, yes.
So the one thing that we need to back is getting more resources to fight legally, because that is the one thing that we can still do legitimately when our cases are denied, as they are many, many times. I think the other thing that we need to support is the idea of a Office of Immigrant Affairs that LA County now has, which means that if you are an immigrant and you're scared and you don't know what's going to happen because maybe you're being thrown out of your home because you think that people are calling you illegal, or you're being bullied at school. Bullying is increasing, particularly for immigrant children. If you are in danger of being deported, if you have a crime but you don't want to report it because you're afraid that if you report it, someone will deport you, then there is a phone number to call in LA County now, the Office of Immigrant Affairs.
Do you have the number now?
No, I don't have it right now, but they are setting one up.
And later probably I'll have my crew go dig the number.
It's the Office of...
we can probably put it on the screen for reference.
The Office of Immigrant Affairs. They can also Google it, LA County Office of Immigrant Affairs.
All right. My dear audience, today is one of the very important discussion about where we are and where we shall be and where we're moving towards in the immigration issue. With me is my good friend, the backbone of California and the backbone of the community, Honorable Mike Hin, former Assemblyman of California 49th District and the current second president of LACCD, a great man. And his background is immigration lawyer. I do feel that I am talking about with this right man. I am talking about the crying baby with the mother.
Yes.
Hey, stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, dear folks. Hello, my dear fellow Californians. Thank God California is a sanctuary state. Thank God Los Angeles is a sanctuary city. And lots of cities, such as Irvine, probably, they chose to be a sanctuary, a harbor city or something like that. And voices are still being heard. And even yesterday, I received a WeChat collecting signatures, the boycotting the position of California being a sanctuary state. So it is a moment that we see everything about 50 here, 50 there, 50 here, 50 there, and we're divided. We're so divided. On this, while we are talking about, we're dealing with the division, it is the hard fact is that we have people who are suffering. Our kids are suffering. For example, I myself have some interns, handle some interns. They went back to China for holidays. I was worried a lot about their return. thank God with the court decision of the 90th District, they came back. They're back safe and sound. What if something happens? Who gets hurt? I get hurt. The job gets hurt. Business gets hurt, right? So with my good friend Mike Kim, Honorable Mike Kim, we want to get to the root of it. I know, sir, that you are an immigration lawyer yourself all life, right? The immigration laws, even though broken, what is it based upon? Is it based upon national security, quote unquote? Is it based upon humanity?
Well, that's a good question. The immigration laws have always been a very political method of expressing the political will of the people in power. For example, the Chinese Exclusion Act, as we know.
That's 1882.
1882, abolished in 1952. The Chinese Exclusion Act, for the first time in history, banned an entire race. My grandfather was caught in that. He was here, he couldn't go home.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Was that the result of any thoughtful thinking? No, it was based on fear of the Chinese being a threat, whether it's a health threat, whether it's an economic threat, or a political threat. So that's the best example of an immigration law that reflected the political hysteria at the time, and now we have this again. But what I do want to say, though, is that the laws are very clear. There is a way to get a green card, and we need, out of the 11 or 12 million people that are claimed to be illegal, many of them have filed petitions. But our system is broken because it takes so long. I'll give you an example. If your brother or sister was sitting right here and you filed a petition for them, it could take up to 25 years for them to get a green card. We know they would get a green card. They've never broken any laws. But the system says that that would be something that would take so long.
You're right.
So in the meantime, they're part of the 11 million that are here illegally. But they eventually, so I think that what we need to do is to say that people that are qualified, give them a green card right away because they have that relationship. The children of a green card holder, the parent of a green card holder. We should expand the family if we believe in the integrity of the family. And Republicans always say that they believe in the family. Well, why not expand that to include the parents of green card holders?
Yeah, this is the hard issue of a family.
Yes.
You don't want your parents to be grabbed and taken off and deported while kids are still here going to college, right? All right, this is one thing.
It makes no sense. So let me review what your rights are before we go any further. A U.S. citizen can petition a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a spouse, a child, married or single. That's a U.S. citizen. A green card holder can only petition a spouse and an unmarried child.
All right. In other words, if I want to get my brother here, I can do it.
If you're a citizen.
Yeah, of course I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Green card holder, no.
And get my parents here.
Citizen,
and get
yes. Green card holder, no.
How about my uncle?
No, the law does not allow for aunts and uncles. However, at a certain point, if your uncle has a brother or sister, like say if your father becomes a U.S. citizen, your father can petition your uncle, which is a brother-sister relationship.
All right, good, very good. Okay.
So the first thing we need to do is to make sure that everybody knows what their rights are to petition someone, okay? Because many people can file, but they don't know they could. The second thing that I think we need to...
Oh, excuse me, allow me for a little insertion.
Yes.
You just mentioned about 25 years waiting time, right?
Yes.
Which I read in the news when back in the old days when I was a reporter on the street.
Yes.
I was spending lots of time on the 25-year waiting. There's one case longer than 25 years, right? Okay, now, during the time, no matter how long waiting, this person that I filed petition for is staying here legally, am I right? Even before approval.
Yeah, they have no right to get a green card or a work permit or to stay legally, which makes no sense.
No. My question is, if my sister is here, right?
Yes.
And she is undocumented.
Yes.
Now I file it.
Yes.
Okay. The moment I file to the moment she is approved, is she staying here legally or not?
No.
Still not.
Still not. And that is the...
Or the tragedy will still happen to her.
Yes.
She's unprotected.
But if she stays here long enough, she eventually will get her green card. And my thinking is, why not get rid of the illegal aliens, so-called, if maybe 1/3 to a half of them are already under petition anyway?
You're right.
That way, we know they're going to get it. Why not during that time they're here, give them a work permit, let them pay taxes, and why waste the money putting them in jail and deporting them, because they're going to come right back anyway, eventually.
Such as marijuana. Marijuana is still marijuana. We legalize it, and
it's funny how people vote to legalize marijuana faster than they vote to legalize people.
That surprises me.
Yes.
That surprises me a lot.
But we could put a referendum nationally and see if people would go for it. But I do think that the first thing, we don't know what will happen, but the first thing is for people to apply for their green card.
Okay. So far for the insertion, go back to your law part.
The second thing that we need to understand is that federal is federal and state is state.
Okay.
What does that mean? That means that if you are a police officer, you cannot arrest someone for not filing their tax returns.
Okay.
Why?
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's very bad not to pay your taxes, but the people that are paid to investigate, to hire the auditors and accountants to find out whether my tax return is right or not, is not the local police department. Does that make sense?
Not their business.
It's none of their business. We also know that if you are in danger of being assaulted, you don't ask to go before an immigration judge, because we have very clear division of labor. If you want to buy a Ford, you don't go to a Toyota dealership.
Okay, all right.
If you
That makes sense.
by that I mean, so the federal immigration laws should be funded by the federal government, using federal agents to carry out their job under the law. I pay taxes to the local police officer to protect me on the streets. If I call 911, I don't want to get a busy signal because they're out arresting somebody who violated the tax laws.
Yeah,
okay?
all right.
If someone is breaking into my house and the police department says, I'm sorry, we don't have enough people, and I say, why not? I said, well, someone did not pay their taxes, and we're going to their house to audit them and arrest them.
We need your...
That is very clear. That's very clear. You understand that. But people don't understand that if we use our local police resources to then enforce the immigration law, we have the same problem. Because you're paying taxes to the federal. When you pay taxes, you have the 1040 to the federal government.
You have the right.
And then you have the California tax returns that you're paying taxes to. Why should we, as local residents, pay money so that our local police department, which is keeping our children safe, are now getting called out to enforce the immigration law? I don't care whether you believe that the immigration law is good or bad. Just on the basis of purely safety alone.
Everybody, every department is allocated to their own job.
Jurisdiction.
Right? Jurisdiction.
I'm on a school board.
I
don't go, if I'm on a school board, I don't go and tell the city council, I don't vote. I don't vote on a city council matter.
That's a very thorough analysis. I pick up the phone, 911, need help, and the cop says, I can't come, I'm sorry, I'm helping somebody shining their shoes.
Exactly.
Right?
You are paying taxes.
I'm paying tax to
for
be covered.
people to do something very specific.
I'm not paying tax for you to cover, to shine somebody's shoes.
The federal government is already taxing us.
I see the point.
Pay for those federal agents.
I see the point, yes.
Pay for the FBI, CIA, all of those things.
I see, yeah. Okay.
I don't protest and say I'm not going to pay my taxes. I'm paying my taxes for all of that. If I'm paying my taxes, then if they want to enforce the immigration law, let them hire federal agents to do that.
To do it.
Don't put a burden.
Don't use my local police department.
Don't put a burden. My police department is already overtaxed. They're already, they have to, you know, there's a fight here, they have to go there.
That's a very, very strong
there,
argument.
they have to go
That's
there.
That's a very, very super
Breaking
strong
in my
argument.
house.
I like it. Yeah,
You don't,
you're right.
you don't go to
right.
the fire department and say, 911, this is the fire department, is your house on fire? No. What's the problem? We have 2 kids fighting in front of my house. Okay, we'll send the paramedic and the fire department to go break up a fight. Does that make sense? No, because you want that fire department ready for that fire emergency. They're trained to do that. They have the equipment. They have the helmet. They have the oxygen. They have the ladders. The local police department is not equipped to enforce anything but local problems.
All right.
If they're going to go do that, I tell you, every police officer is going to say, okay, fine, I want you to pay me to learn about immigration law. I want you to pay my insurance, because if I arrest and deport the wrong person, then that family will sue me, so I want extra there.
Okay.
And then I want you to relieve me of my duties to respond to 911, because now you have me going out and helping the federal government.
All right, okay. It's a mess, isn't it? It's a mess. It sounded like a mess.
I think that it's not a mess. It's a mess politically, but logically, if we can get people to calm down, don't look at the word sanctuary, don't look at the word Republican, don't look at the word Donald Trump, but take a deep breath and just say, look at what the proposal is right here, black and white.
Look at the fact.
I don't care who proposed it. Do you think that your local police department should go out and get involved in immigration problems?
All right.
I want you, if you think so, then go ask your police department if they're being paid enough to enforce the immigration law. If they're not, then you go and tell your fellow residents that you volunteer and you want them to pay more taxes to their local police department.
All right.
Because they need a raise.
All right, good. My audience is, I'm totally convinced, I have to say, this is a very, very sober-minded analysis, down to the very point that we need our tax to be paid to the department that's doing the right job we want, right?
That's correct.
Now, all right, let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, we'll continue fighting. And I'm very glad today that we conducted this interview. It is very educational. Not only that, but also we need some advices about what to do to get our voices out. There are voices, I believe, there are a lot of voices, yet there must be some channels to go to. Stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, my dear folks, my dear audience, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the East West Show. Jack Chow is my name, East West the show. We want to put all efforts together to find out where we are, especially at this moment when we started the new year with a brand new president whose manner and everything looks totally different than traditionally you think about the word president. Anyway, people say that you voted for him. I said I didn't. Okay. Well, anyway, he won. Okay. Now, a funny thing is that the very first poll after he took office, his approval rating was not even half, 43%. Right. For somebody who won the popular vote, and that turned out the approval rate turned out 43 is quite a strange thing. Anyway, regardless, we're focusing on the executive orders, the impact of those orders, the travel bans, the police department getting involved with the federal stuff. I have my good friend, backbone to the community, Honorable Mike Yin, former Assemblyman of California, 49th District, and current second president of LACCD. So, and I thank you very much for your analysis of the last segment about the law part, right? And especially about the allocation of each department's assignment for doing their own job. That makes lots of sense.
Yes.
You don't want a doctor to go dig potatoes for you, like that kind of thing, right? Anyways, yes. I was asking, what is the foundation of immigration law? Is it humanity, or is it national security? And the answer was the laws are political.
Yes.
While choosing to be political, what does it have to consider? To protect people or to make the country, quote unquote, safe?
Well, that's a very good question, my good friend Jack Joe.
Thank you.
Premier journalist.
Thank you
in
very
our
much.
region.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think there's 4 things that go into making an immigration law for any country. Number 1, there must have the security of their borders to make sure that people that might be a threat don't come in. Number 2, the second consideration is what is in the national interest to promote certain groups of people to come here. That national interest could be that we need more doctors, we need more scientists. Because if we have a shortage, for example, if somebody knows the cure to cancer and is a top cancer researcher, wouldn't you want them to come to America where we can fund them?
To the best interest of the nation.
The best interest of the nation. And under national interest, we could talk about national security. We can also talk about academic promotion. And the third most important thing is a family connection. The traditions of America favor the family unity. So the immigration laws should be based on some kind of ability to bring in people who are related. I'll give you an example. I was at the immigration when Arnold Schwarzenegger got his green card, or actually got his citizenship, but we know that he married, Arnold Schwarzenegger went to Santa Monica College, and then he obviously married Ivanka, Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump, got her green card by marrying Donald Trump. So we know that there are certain family relationships that we want to promote. The fourth thing that an immigration law has to consider is how do we keep our population growing. There are many countries where the birth rate is very slow. Japan is a good example of that. Some places in Europe. And they certainly don't have enough, if at the rate they're going, their country would basically collapse because you don't have the people to do the job, to run the infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. So an immigration policy must also reflect the idea of having a diversity of population that serves the needs of the country.
Okay.
So that's another consideration. And finally, the fifth, I would add one more thing that is very important in deciding an immigration policy, which is to reflect a core value of humanitarianism.
Yeah, all right. That's
because
what I was asking.
Right now, some of the most vocal opponents of the travel ban are many of the Jewish community that came to America to escape Nazi Germany. Not just Germany, but all over the world. Nazism was exterminating the Jews, millions of people. And if it hadn't been for America, where would they be today?
You're right.
There would be they would have died, and
they would have died twice.
You may not even have had an Israel.
They would be dead twice.
Exactly. So that has always been the Statue of Liberty. We pride ourselves in saying people come to the Statue of Liberty because America is different from other countries because we welcome people who are escaping oppression.
That's why the great lady with the torch says, "Come to me, give to me, all ye, all you," right?
Now, there are limits, of course, to everything. But when you are banning large numbers of people for the only reason being that they were born in a particular country, 7 countries, that makes no sense.
You're isolating yourself.
You are trampling on the very traditions of which America was founded. Then how
Thank
are
you,
we
sir,
different?
very much.
How are we different?
Yeah,
how
sure.
are we different?
Yeah,
Why are we the greatest nation?
Why? There is no reason. For example, I was born in China, right? So, am I doing a great job in the United States being a citizen?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. And they may have rejected me, say, "Hey, Jack Shaw, we didn't want you because you were born in a different country." But I proved myself to be a good man, right? So this is good to the United States. If we let 100 million happen the same way like my case, though, we have 100 million helpers with the economy. Okay, now, for example, just now among the 4 categories, border security and national needs and the family value and the humanitarianism all together, I chose your number 2 to back up with. All right. It sounds to me every now and then, since 1760, when the first Chinese appeared in the United States, every now and then, maybe 60 or 80 years, there comes a exclusion. Okay, we did have the needs. For example, we did have the needs to build a railroad. There came the railroad builders. And by 1882, the railroads are completed, and they are kicked out. They're excluded. And then again, in the 20th century, the same thing happened with the Japanese camp, right? And it goes on and on and on. During Bush time, during Reagan time, Bush time, there was the influx of us, and later turns to be another exclusion. Now I'm looking at the Trump's orders. It sounds like a new exclusion to me. Am I right reading U.S. history?
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. In fact, just last week, we awarded a honorary Associate of Arts degree to a young woman who was young when she was going to Los Angeles City College. The Executive Order 9066, the Japanese executive order by President Roosevelt, meant that she was thrown out of the class into the camp based on a fear of her race.
Okay.
Fast forward 75 years later, banning 7 nations because of the fear of their race.
Yeah, we're talking about a comeback.
The fear of their race.
A comeback.
Yes.
Right.
And so the good thing about history is that it teaches us a lesson if we care to learn. And many of us remember George Takei, a wonderful actor and activist from the Star Trek series, on the radio last night. His family was in the camp. He himself was in the camp. He remembers it. His father was there. Lost everything. In fact, those of us that live in California have nothing other to do than to go and look at Little Tokyo, where that community was, people were forcibly removed. People look at the Oroville Dam, and there's 200,000 people that had to, in the middle of the night, leave all their belongings and seek safety. Imagine the tidal wave of racism and persecution, forcing families to evacuate and go in to live under barbed wire. That is the
Yeah, yeah.
Look at the threat of the tidal wave, and
It
look
is,
at the threat.
It is also
of
not only
persecution.
history, not only history, but sometimes bloody histories. I recall that I learned a piece from history right after 1882, right there in downtown, on the May 27th day, some Chinese got burned.
Yes, yes.
And the burned
the
body,
Chinese massacre.
yeah, right?
That's
when
correct.
the burned body were hanging on the trees or electrical poles, and they captured 4 intruders, right? And the perpetrator later got all released, well, because there's no evidence or not enough evidence. There's a whole instant in history, well, how it ended up. So my worry is that if things goes on like this, would that be another downtown May 27 event?
I don't think so, because I think that what we have today, we didn't have journalists like you.
Oh, thank you.
We didn't have the media. We had no
you.
media. We had no reporters. We had no newspapers. We had no elected officials. Thank goodness today we have many, many elected officials who would speak out. And we have the memory of that experience to know that we shouldn't go there. We have young people who are very engaged, and that is where we should look.
Thank you very
We
much.
should
Now,
go
most
full
important
circle
thing,
from the threat to the
Yeah.
children to the hope of the children.
yeah, you're right.
If you
you're
look
right.
at the Bernie Sanders movement, thousands and thousands of millennials, 18 to 35, took to the streets to rally. They are not going to go quietly into
All
the
right,
concentration
okay.
camps.
And above all, I would say that I feel glad that we have Honorable Mike Yen to stand in the very front. And I believe he's a fighter. He has been a fighter. He will be a fighter. And when we come back with the next segment, we will be exactly focusing on what do we want to do. All right, so stay with us, please.
Yes, very good.
Hello, my dear audience, my lovely fellow Californians or fellow Americans. Welcome back to the Jack Chow Show, East West. Today is one of the very important shows, especially when it falls on a Valentine's Day. What is a Valentine's Day? It's a day of love. What is love? Love is something that you want to extend to people, to not only your spousal, your partner of a romance or whoever. In my case, I will call every single day Valentine's Day because you want to express love. Now, exactly versus what we have now, it's not that much of a love I'm talking about. We're talking about what the persecution coming out.
Yes.
All right, if I may not be over-exaggerating the situation, I feel lots of people are being persecuted. All right. Now, there got to be a cure, right? There got to be a cure. When the Europeans, when pilgrims were persecuted, they got a land of freedom to go to. Where do we go? We have nowhere to go but to stay, right? So to stay, we have something to do. And I would have to ask you or share this thought with you. What do we want to do to survive? Because you're talking about a bunch of kids, young people in school. They are mostly vulnerable. They are the one that encountered the most, right? So what are we going to do to protect them? What are we going to do as, in my case, as a media man? What are we going to do, in your case, as elected officials? So on and so forth. And we need advices. We're lost.
Thank you. Well, the first thing we have to remember is the majority of American citizens did not vote for Donald Trump. The popular vote was won quite clearly and convincingly by Hillary Clinton. So the first fallacy is that Donald Trump has a mandate by the American people. He has no mandate. He won the Electoral College, but he did not win the majority of votes. Number two, as you pointed out, Donald Trump has the worst ratings in history.
43, right after the second day
newly
of his
installed
taking
president,
office,
the
yeah.
worst ratings in history. So the public is getting clearer and clearer. They're getting less fooled. Number three, there's a saying that every generation must face its own crisis before true leaders and heroes are born.
All right.
If it wasn't for the civil rights movement and the oppression and the loss of the right of civil rights, you would not have a Martin Luther King. So the millennial generation right now is facing the same crossroads. They have enjoyed relatively peacefulness in terms of any crisis other than economic, and that's been gradual. They are now the largest group. 18 to 35 is larger than the Gen X generation. It's larger than the baby boomers.
Okay.
Point number two. So they have the numbers. They did not go out and vote. And that is the first lesson they're learning, that by not going out and voting for someone other than Donald Trump,
the consequences have to bear.
Are going to bear the consequences the worst, because the baby boomers have their savings.
Yeah.
The Gen Xers are going to be affected, but not, they already have somewhat more job security. The 18 to 35s are just getting into the job market. They will be the most affected. So I firmly believe that whether it was the women's rights movement, the civil rights movement, the movement for gay rights, the movement for immigrants' rights that I was a part of and we all were a part of, all came as a result of a crisis.
All right.
And because of a crisis, there is going to be resistance, there's going to be discussion, there's going to be action. Already, I went to one of the largest demonstrations ever I've seen in LA County. It was at Pershing Square. It was a women's march. There were so many people, I couldn't even turn around. I was surrounded by women and men marching to City Hall. Many of them active for the very first time. The millennial generation, they were all there. They don't realize that their numbers gives them tremendous power. Bernie Sanders, when Bernie Sanders gave a speech, there were 15, larger than Donald Trump. The millennials went to the Bernie Sanders speeches in larger numbers than Donald Trump, in many cases equal. So the numbers are clearly there. So the challenge to the young people, 18 to 35, and they're all younger than me, is, are you going to sit there and take it? Are you going to let your life be ruined by this person in Washington, D.C.? And so the answer I've heard is no. They are organizing. They're trying to get control of the Democratic Party so that their agenda of activism will spread. So they're doing it the right way. But I do think that at the end of the day, we each have our own community. We each must define our own group to protest or to make our voices heard. If you're just an individual, you can write emails to your elected officials, you can call them. But if you have a family and you're part of a group, a parents group, the PTA, you're part of the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts group, or you're part of a larger group, you must be active in doing this one thing. We have an election coming up in Southern California and in all over the state, coming up in about 2.5 weeks in March. We must demand, ask every elected official, what are you going to do about Donald Trump? What are you going to do? You are elected, if we vote for you, you are elected to provide leadership. We may not have all the idea, we don't have the resources, we're not running for office. But you who are running for office, tell us what you're going to do. If you have a plan, we'll vote for you.
Like that, yeah.
If you don't have a plan, get out.
Yeah, you're right.
We need leaders who will step up to the fore. What I plan to do is I'm going to bring to my campus a number of resources for people of anyone affected by Donald Trump, whether you're an international student or undocumented student. And we must be very clear. There are attempts right now online to sign a petition to divide us. To say you can't do that, you can't. We must be united. We must be united.
In other words, in the summary, we know that we are not happy, but your feeling has to be expressed out, and your voices have to be heard. And we're not talking about one voice, two voices. We're talking about a massive voices, right? Correct. Something like that, and that to be heard. In order to be heard, and the term impeachment is always mentioned, right? And by law, I know you're an immigration lawyer. You must know something about that process. But in the impeachment process, are you familiar, please?
Yes, I don't think impeachment is realistic because impeachment depends on the United States Congress, particularly the Senate. And there's no one right now that I know of that is talking about impeachment, which is controlled by the Republican Party. But what I do think, I think that that's something that's far off in the distance. But I think that we need to focus on what's in front of us right now, which is the election coming up. Go to a demonstration. There are demonstrations happening every day on every weekend to make your voices heard. If you don't have one, then organize your own protest. Okay. Organize your own protest.
Yeah,
if you don't agree with something, you could certainly call your own press conference. You could stand in front of City Hall.
Stand on the street, hold a sign.
Stand in front of it. One person standing up with a sign. One person can make a difference. Stand in front of a church. Ask the church. The churches are the great organizers of moral authority and moral indignation. So to those of you that belong to churches, take a stand. Those of you that have children, take a stand. Those of you that feel powerless, join a demonstration.
In other word, we got to do something, and it is high time we did it.
Yes.
Am I right?
Everybody. There is no such thing as being asleep in this next period. This is a time to be fully awake. All hands on deck.
We got it.
This is a 911 wake-up call.
It's the moment.
This is the moment.
Right?
And history teaches us that these moments are very rare.
Okay. From other perspective, though, and I'm maybe being naive this very moment because I worry about, the more I worry, the more naive I become, probably like that. Looking at the characteristic of Donald Trump himself, though, is there a chance, or could there be a chance, that something could happen either from himself, by himself, against himself, or within his cabinet, or within his whatever? So they burst. In other words, they bust themselves.
Anything is possible, but I wouldn't count on it. I would say this. It is better to organize. The biggest way to weaken Donald Trump is to elect Democrats in the 2018 election. Because then they're going to realize the only reason Donald Trump has power now is because the Republicans can control the Senate and the House of Representatives.
Yeah, both houses.
The moment the Democrats control one or the other, it's over for him.
All right, okay.
It's over for him.
And this statement may sound partisan, too much partisanship, but to the public eye, though, you know what's right and what's wrong. And to the public eye, what we're seeing is not the thing we like. Right?
And you're absolutely right. And I would say if a Democratic president were to go down the same path,
yeah, we would have to say the same thing.
Stupidity, arrogance is not a trait limited to one party. It can happen to any of us.
Oh, you're right.
Democrats go to jail. Republicans go to jail. The people are the safeguard, the final safeguard. when all the branches of government are corrupted or compromised, the people have always risen up.
Okay,
And so that's why I
good,
have
very
great
good.
hope.
Yeah,
I have
that's
great
very
faith
good.
in the
Yeah,
people.
Yeah, all right. And that's why we all like you. You go around, you check about it, right? And the last issue, the subject, always be the wall, the Great Wall of the United States, right? Not of China. So I would like to have my audiences share some of your concerns about the wall, please.
Well, I think if you look at it, whether you feel it's a good thing or a bad thing, let's look at it pragmatically. If you were to go to the San Gabriel Mountains and say you have to build a wall there, you know it's impossible. So many, many miles of our borders are mountains. You can't build a wall. So logistically, it's impossible. The cost is going to be billions of dollars, definitely, to have that type of situation. So I do think that it's unrealistic, and I think what we have to do is we have to look at all of Donald Trump's proposals and attach a dollar value to it and their cost benefit. The cost benefit of the wall is unknown. I don't know if you can't physically build a wall. There's no way you can physically build a complete concrete wall, and he's acknowledged that. So I don't agree with him on that. But what I do agree with him is over $1 trillion of infrastructure, roads, bridges, highways, tunnels, whatever you name
jobs.
It creates jobs, and we can work together.
Okay.
So
okay. All right.
let's agree that there's certain things that I will have a problem with any president that I may not agree with, or any elected official.
All right.
But I'd like to end by focusing on things that I do agree with Donald Trump. What I do agree with Donald Trump is that instead of building a wall, build a bridge.
Yeah, you're
build
right.
Build a highway.
Right. Okay. All right.
Build a tunnel.
You're right. Okay, good. All
build buildings, because that will put people to work.
Excuse me, sir. I would like to give you a joke. All right, probably that will make some sense. Okay. Guy was a contractor, got a contract, very happy, and started dig a well, right, to dig a well. He spent a certain amount of time, created a certain amount of jobs for month after month of endeavor. Finally, he got defeated, and he got no payment, whatever, he got sued. All right. While creating jobs, he got sued. Right? Why? Because he was assigned on a job to build up a chimney. Only he looked at the blueprint upside down, so he dug a well. You see the point? Okay, creating jobs, no, nothing wrong. However, you got to do the same. The thing is the well or a chimney. Yeah. Well, sounds to me there are more chimneys to be built rather than digging a well.
That's correct.
Am I right?
Build a bridge.
The bridge.
Don't build a wall.
The bumpy roads, the potholes.
Exactly. Now, if he were to do that, then I think he would find a lot of support. I don't think in the end, he will, because he is so, as you said, easily angered.
Yeah,
and he's going to spend money wherever he feels angry.
He's got a lot of temper, yeah.
So the bottom line is that there is a path for both the American people, and there's a path for Mr. Trump. Those paths could meet together on some very positive things, but I don't think they will, unfortunately. The people's path will continue to do what we have to do.
Okay.
Mr. Trump, I think, will be looked back on history as one of the worst mistakes ever made by the American people. He could redeem himself, but at this point, I don't see him doing that right now. But no matter, there's a saying that when you're running for office, don't worry about the other person, do what you have to do.
Okay.
We, as the American people, must do what we have to do. Let him do what he will do, because he will be unpredictable. What we do must be predictable. We must organize. We must have a message for our young people. We must unite coalitions. We must get everybody to work together. We must make sure that we target our local elections. We must target the midterm elections in 2018. Do those 6 things, and we will be here in 2 years with smiles on our face.
All right, very good. Sounds a great expectation, my dear audience, and I should say that and it is a very eye-opening moment. It is a very awakening moment, and especially all those thorough analysis given by Honorable Mike Kim, former Assembly member of California, 49th District, and the current president, second president of LACCD, and I call a philosopher, right? So with this analysis, we all come to a conclusion that we got to do the part we need to do. Being angry, being upset doesn't help. Do something. It is high time we did it, right? So thank you, my audience, for watching. We're over time already. And to Honorable Mike Ian, thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Jack Chow.
All right, thank you.
It's been an honor.
Sir.